There's a lonely house at which the folks all stand around and stare. And if you ever want to take a look, you'll find an old caretaker there. When you step inside, he tells a tale of ghosts that whine and wail, running round about the place at night, and this is how he tells his tale. Oh, hear that bogey wail, up and down the scale, creeping in and out of every room. Bogey wail, what an awful wail, guaranteed.
Hey guys, welcome to our Facebook Live tonight. I am Kayla. I am the marketing director and a tour director here at Mysterious Adventures Tours. I'm really excited to see some familiar names in the chat, so definitely please leave a comment. Let us know that you're here and hanging out with us. And if you are new to us, welcome. Welcome to Mysterious Adventures Tours. We are a multi-day tour company that really focuses about traveling beyond the ordinary. It's the best way to sum it up. We design these curated journeys to places filled with history, with mystery, with meaning, where you're not just visiting, you're actually connecting. You're connecting to culture, to stories, to the atmosphere, and in a lot of ways to something deeper within yourselves. You know, it's that transformational travel. And I really feel like that's what makes us so different and what makes our trips so different and exciting. And tonight we are talking about one place that has truly captured my heart and so many of the hearts of our travelers year after year, and that is Romania. And every Halloween, we return to Romania because, of course, how can you not go to Romania during Halloween? You are in the land of Dracula, but there's more to it than that. There's something about the atmosphere of being there. You've got the landscapes, the history, the lore, the legend. It just stays with you long after you leave. And so I'm just so excited to be here with you guys and to chat more about that with you. I've been to Romania myself. I went a couple years ago as a tour director with Mysterious Adventures Tours. And, you know, being someone who has always loved horror, being in that land inspired by Dracula, it was honestly one of the most magical experiences of my life. So, but before we get into the whole experience of our tours here at Mysterious Adventure Tours in Romania, I want to show you guys a video. It's from a few years ago, but I think it gives you a glimpse into what this experience really can look like for you and why Romania continues to capture the hearts of all of us here on the team and our travelers as well.
Spiritele și tupășotele. Și toate spiritele să fugă și să se ducă și înapoi să nu se mai întoarcă.
So as you can see, this is not just a typical trip. There's a lot of really incredible things that you get to do in Romania with us and you can really connect with. But I'm not the only one who can share their experience about being in Romania. I have two really incredible guests that are going to tell you everything that you need to know about these upcoming Romanian experiences that we have here in 2026 for Halloween. And so let me bring these guys in. All right. And so first up, we have Dacre Stoker. Welcome, Dacre. And Dacre is the one that carries the incredible legacy of Dracula's story and brings a whole new depth, I think, personally, to this experience. So Dacre, welcome.
Kayla, thank you. My pleasure to be here and certainly my pleasure to be involved in these Mysterious Adventure Tours. It's so cool to help people to realize, their dreams of getting into the novel that my great granduncle wrote, Bram Stoker writing Dracula, and figuring out all the cool parts that really took place in Romania without Bram having gone there. I can tell you all about his research. We actually read passages from the novel to really make this an immersive experience that's one you'll never forget.
That's so awesome. Thank you, Dacre. And I have to introduce our resident tour guide from Romania, Vlad, also vampire, Vlad, curator of Palinka when you need it, when you're in Romania. Vlad, thank you so much for being here with us.
I bid you welcome. And I am told that in your world, my name is a whisper of fiction. It's such a special occasion and a pleasure to partner up with Dacre and with Mysterious Adventures Tours, because I think we have great ties with the ancestors of Transylvania. And the tours that we are doing here, I think, are going beyond the usual open doors that you will find. So I am very excited to do this together and to go over what we have prepared for our travelers. There are some surprises. Not all of them will be pleasant, but we do have 100% return rate. I can vouch for that.
Oh, that's good. Yes, now we can see you guys. Perfect. Well, first, I want to start with Dacre. And Dacre, you've been to Romania quite a few times, and I would assume that's a lot of research on your end and stuff. So I first like for you to kind of touch on that and your experience with Romania, but then also leading into your experience with Mysterious Adventures Tours, because that's a different type of experience in going to Romania, because you went with us last year.
Yeah. So this is going to be my 16th visit. I've been going there for now 14 years. And you're absolutely right. I'm the first Stoker that went there. Bram never went. So I decided to embark on my journey of being a family member that could hold up the legacy strongly of Dracula and do the research, figure out exactly what these places that Bram referenced in the novel Dracula were all about. I found out where he found them, in the books in the London Library, in Whitby Library. But now I need to go and see these places. So I went there with a couple of friends. We traveled throughout and see what the relationship between modern day Romania, Transylvania, Wallachia, Moldavia, the incredible mountains, the wonderful cities. How does that relate to the novel Dracula? And let me just tell you, some of the stuff I found looks like we've walked back into the 1700s when Bram became aware of it. Of course, he wrote Dracula in 1897. But modern day Romania, I found to be very safe, very friendly, transportation excellent, but you can get back. And this is one of the really cool things that Mysterious Adventure Tours does, is find us, as Vlad said, behind the doors, go into these cool places off the beaten path. And then I'm able to relate and connect with that and say, hey guys, this is what Bram was talking about. You see, and then I might read a section of the book and we're standing in this location where Bram was mentioning Cluj, which was Klausenberg, or in this place where Harker stayed. So we're going to immerse ourselves back into history a couple hundred years ago in a very wonderful modern country that just gives you a really wonderful, very friendly vibe. I mean, to me, it's a little bit like Italy. It's a little bit like Germany, Hungary, all sort of thrown into, but pushed back beyond, as they say, the land beyond the forest. It was very mysterious and still has, incredible superstition and folklore. And that's what immediately attracted me, is getting to the roots of this. Yeah. So fast forward, after many research tours and going there to do certain events, finding the location where Bram actually placed his fictional castle, going to see these other castles that he used in the novel. Now we fast forward to Mysterious Adventure Tours, which has a wonderful way of sort of blending this all together. And I sort of call it the fact and fiction tour.
Yeah.
We see the facts, we enjoy them, we eat great food, drink good wine, and so on, but we are immersing in the different fictions that have come out of vampires and literature. And it's not just Bram Stoker. That's right. My sort of talisman, but there is obviously my good friend and our tour guide, Vlad the Impaler. How does he fit into all this? Right. I will tell you the facts of how Bram Stoker found out about Vlad the Impaler and why and how he basically merged him into his Count Dracula. And there's a lot of interesting facts that make up the fictional side of all this. And we'd love to share that with you on the bus, when we're walking in these places, and in the evenings when we're just sitting around having a nice glass of wine, or if Vlad pulls out the Palenka.
Yeah, how special is that? When I went, it's different experiences, which is really cool. Like when I went, we went with paranormal investigators. So it's a different perspective. It was very much, of course, we touched on the, legend and lore and story of Dracula, but we were, really immersing in the culture and the history, because that is very important to paranormal investigating, right? If you're going to go into these places and trying to connect with spirits, you need to be able to relate to these, to the people, to the culture, to really understand where they're coming from. So it's really interesting, and it's so neat with an experience with you and just this more curated Dracula experience. And like you were saying, the fact and fiction, and being able to be in some of these spots that you can literally pull from the book, and say, yeah, like he actually mentioned this here. That's really neat too.
Well, and not just the book Dracula, but the books that he read about Transylvania, Emily Gerard, Land Beyond the Forest, that pinpoint, how a Western European person, Emily Gerard, went to Transylvania, lived there, and she uncovered the superstitions that are still going on today, that were very prevalent back in the 1800s. So this is, as Jonathan Harker said, the whirlpool of blending of culture, of religion, of superstition. It's all there. And the wonderful thing about Mysterious Adventures Tours is they will take us to these places, yes, to these remote villages, to meeting these people that practice these things and are very knowledgeable and can bring us up to date in how they all factor into their present day culture. And it's a little spooky at times. It's what I think a lot of people are looking for. It's what I'm looking for is the origin of these things. But it blows me away that they're still going on to this day.
Yeah, and I think I can agree with you there in terms of the exclusive access, how unique and special that is. I remember when I went, going and being in Corvin Castle, just our tour group in Corvin Castle by ourselves. We had our own private tour, and we got to spend a few hours wandering this old castle. Like, just imagine yourself late at night, the moon is shining, stars are out, and you can just wander aimlessly by yourself if you want in this castle that has so much history in it. Like, to me, that was just so special. And I know it was so special to our travelers. And so, yeah, you just nail that, how we really try to make sure that we're able to offer these more intimate experiences that these travelers can have, whether it's at Bran Castle, Bran Castle, the birthplace of Dracula, in that home. So many different locations. It's just
there's a lot to be said to the exclusivity that Mysterious Adventures is able to attain, and a lot of it is because our tour guide is native. He knows the people.
Yeah.
He figures out, hey, this is the off time, or we actually pay for exclusiveness, the private element of this. I hate to say it, I don't, but Romanian tourism is becoming very popular. So some of the castles are not exactly private, but Mysterious Adventure Tours gets those private accesses, gets the right places. So not only do you get the tour, but as you said, Kayla, this is what strikes me as being interesting. And the people that have been on the tours with me say, I like to just wander by myself. Mm-hmm. It's quiet. I go up to a certain part of the castle, or I walk in this village where there's no other people, and just chill out and feel the vibe. Listen to the noises. At nighttime, there's more noises than you can imagine. The graveyard, immerse myself into just the quiet nature. And Mysterious Adventures Tours figures out how to make that happen. It's not easy, but my hat's off to them, because they allow those private, intimate experiences to happen.
Absolutely. So Vlad, you being the tour guide, and you've done all of our tours to Romania. So we just absolutely adore you. Coming from your perspective, what do you think that most travelers expect when they come to Romania? And then what really surprises them from when you've interacted with them?
That's one of my great pleasures, actually, because people might not come with any expectation of Romania. or they might think that Transylvania is that Romania is in Transylvania, whereas the reality is the other way around. So I think we cross that intersection of Romanian history with the myths and legends of Transylvania. But the reality is that people are drawn into this Transylvanian mist, the land beyond the forest, what is the literal name of Transylvania, where superstitions and folk tales are still part of everyday life, even nowadays, in the 21st century, in the age of AI. People are still doing all sorts of bizarre rituals and ceremonies in the countryside of Transylvania, in the Carpathian Garden, in the mountains of the Carpathians. So I think the expectations of people are that they will be surprised. Now, in what way they will be surprised, it's our secret, but it's also a matter of their state of mind. And I believe the crowd that we are attracting, or the crowd that is attracted by Transylvania and Romania in particular, is that type of curious traveler that is there for a unique experience that they will be part of. Because remember, you are here, our guest in our country. And once you cross the border of our country, you will be part of this story. You will write your own pages. You can create your own journal. You can adapt a version of one of the most famous books in history, which was Dracula, and be the main character in there. Explore the corridors that those people have, be it in movies, in books, in folk tales, and whatnot. And we would like to involve people beyond a classic tour where you just see and admire and take some pictures. You will be involved, and you will, be part of certain activities, rituals, ceremonies, parties. It's the full package, and I would say that's what surprises people the most: the amount of engagement that we have in the tour with our activities and between each other, because we like to form our group and to bond with our group.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I remember that specifically too, being there. It's a very warm and welcoming atmosphere. And I think it's because a lot of the travelers, like you said, all of them are curious. They all have very similar interests. So they all connect really well together because of these same interests. So it's just a different type of experience with each other, you know?
What I would add here is that Romania has a very powerful energy. Once you are beyond, and you guys have been traveling around the Carpathians, you have been to these places. You have been to Hoia-Baciu Forest. You have been alone in a high tower of Corvin Castle or Bran Castle. And just if you're there for 5 seconds or 1 minute, just in a corner, you can go a little bit away and just breathe in the air and ponder for a second. There's something in the air. Everybody, this is the feedback we get. And I wanted to check with you whether you feel this, I wouldn't call it a spirituality, because of course the land of Transylvania is full of this, but a certain energy that opens up your soul a little bit, opens up your heart for new experiences, for connecting with people, for absorbing everything that is happening during the tour. And I think that's one of the key elements of our tours as well.
Yeah, there's a mindset, I think, that a lot of people, when they come on these tours, especially last year, which was my first with Mysterious Adventures, that they are looking for this type of experience where they can breathe in, as Vlad mentioned. I get things like that when I'm in one of these castles, and a tour guide half an hour before had pointed out some graffiti from the year 1600. Literally graffiti on the walls that, as they have done some renovation, have found these things, or carved into the wooden beams in these old churches. And you realize this was, long before World War I, which in America we think is pretty old. We go way back to the 1500s, 1600s, and we realize people lived then, and the struggles they had, and what was going on. You know, the history, the Ottoman Turks coming here, the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, and understanding the history, but also how the culture, how the people lived, you know, what stresses they were under. And then sometimes we feel those when you do these solo, as Vlad was mentioning, walk up this tower here in Viskry and stand here and just think for a moment. So you can take this at a level where you just take photos and hear cool stories, look at really incredible landscapes and really cool architecture. Or what Mysterious Adventure Tours does well is help you immerse yourself and go deeper and allow that sort of experience to sort of flow in through your breathing, through your senses. And that's one of the reasons, to me, it's a plus. It really does add on to the tours to have that element, to have the people on the tours that are looking for that, and have leadership like Vlad and other people that we meet along the way that will help us attain that sort of mindset and that experience.
Absolutely. Well, I think this is a really good time to start getting into the tours, to kind of talk about the different places that we will be going on these tours. Before we do that, I do want to ask each of you, we'll start with you, Dacre, out of the places that we went last year, because we'll be going to the same places, what was one of your favorite experiences?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I mean, it's like every day gets better and different.
Yeah.
I have to say my experience in the UNESCO, you know, sort of a designated Citadel of Sigishwara, to me is really cool. It's a walled city. It actually has the footprint, the house we go into where Vlad the Impaler was born in. It's now turned into a cool restaurant. But what I get is the feeling of the cobblestone streets, the nicely colored buildings. But I am walking in a 500-year-old city, and I like to go out in the morning when there's not a lot of people around and do just as we've been saying, walk, wander. I might take a couple of guests with me who want to do the same and just feel the vibe. You hear roosters crowing, you hear dogs barking, you hear what it's like to live in present day medieval city. And that is really, really cool. Well preserved, very safe, not kitschy. Yeah, there have souvenirs around the corners and so on, but you just really feel like you're back in time. To me, that's the experience that really stands out to me. Not that like all the other castles aren't the same way, but it's a whole town like that. Really is that's one of my favorite spots.
How about you, Vlad? Because you go to these places quite frequently. So I'm curious for you, like what's one of your favorites that you like to take groups to?
It's always something special for me to return to Corvin Castle. And I do like these off the beat. It might not be now an off the beaten path destination because it grew in popularity. As Dacre mentioned, you know, it's a blessing and a curse. But Corvin Castle is the one that looks and is a real medieval castle from the top to bottom. And it's been through so many centuries. All the stories, all the things that happened in there, be it executions, tortures, betrayals, and so on. You know, if Game of Thrones would have summarized the medieval times, it would have been whatever happened in Corvin Castle. They got inspiration from there for sure, and from those events. Dracula might have more to do with Corvin Castle than Bran Castle, but we don't want to ruin the surprise for our guests. There are so many things in Corvin Castle. It's the castle that gave the name of the vampire legacy. Even in certain Hollywood movies and so on, the Corvins were the first of the vampires. So Corvin is a very intricate castle, very intriguing location. And I like to mention these places that might not be the first ones to appear on people's radar. So to me, it's a special place, especially because we do have exclusive access in Corvin Castle after the gates are being closed. So it's only our group that gets to spend some time in the castle, investigating, checking, feeling the castle. And spoiler alert, just these weeks, they have found new evidence because there's still some archaeological sites going on in the castle. discovered new secret tunnels, passages, so many new stories about the castle that we're very excited to share with our guests. As long as they don't get lost in those corridors,
Yeah.
I will be around to make sure they come back.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, for me, the Witch's Pond was very, very cool because I've never been part of a ritual like that before. And for us, it was the end of our tour, which is cool. It's like a cool way to sum up everything, our whole experience together. And so we go the night before everyone's leaving. And, of course, you get packed into this, I don't even know, like a tractor thing, you're like bouncing around on here, like in the woods, and you're like, where are they taking us, deep in. And then once you get into where the Witch's Pond is and you see the witches there, just everything about it's magical. Like it really is. I know that's a corny word to use. And of course, because you're, dealing with true Romanian witches, but it really was a magical experience. And it's just neat that we are able to do that kind of stuff. And like you guys were saying, having all these different kinds of experiences, whether it's just getting exclusivity into these castles, if it's paranormal investigating, like if people want to go and do paranormal investigating, if it's partying it up, or just focusing on the history. And then we immerse them in the culture, whether it's providing them with a meal from a local community to where they get traditional Romanian meals, or experiencing rituals from Romanian witches. It's neat. There's so many cool opportunities that you get in this one tour.
I would add, and I think it's a very good answer, because we wouldn't be able to offer these experiences, for a smaller amount of people. These experiences are part of the culture or the lore of Romanian traditions, and naturally they would be done in a village with multi-generational families. So a lot of people would gather for these ceremonies or rituals. Now, it's a little bit tricky to do it on your own or in a smaller group. And that's why I think having the same interest, the group with the same interests, that are able to feel and connect with these rituals, as you say, I think it's something that really elevates the tour to something different that one you will see. That's why I wanted to ask you about this experience. Did you feel that you were part of it, or you were just assisting, like, a show, you buy a ticket and you watch these folk dances or whatever is the norm in a regular tour?
Yeah, no, I definitely felt it. I definitely felt energy there. And it was like everybody's energy, because I felt like, especially by that time, everyone was so bonded together, right? As a group, we have experienced so much and everything that like we were all so open to it. And you could feel that. You could feel the openness of everybody, and everyone was rooted in, they were present, which is something so almost foreign to us nowadays. You know what I mean? With phones and everything. Yeah, it was, but everybody in that moment was present together, embracing this experience together. And I could just feel that. I felt connected to everybody, and I felt connected to them and to you, like being part of that ritual and experience. Yeah, I thought, I definitely connected with it. It was great.
I'm so glad to hear that. And we're waiting for our guests to experience that as well. Every year is different. I would add that certain rituals are being done differently every year, because we want to involve, like certain years we write something in a ritual, certain years you are being given items. So everybody is really hands-on experiencing what a local tradition would be like.
Absolutely.
Dacre, how do you feel about these experiences?
No, I love what you just said. You can go to places and buy a ticket and watch something, or you can come with us and you get involved in something. And when you get involved, it's your level of comfort. You burst right in, and as we say, you're all in. And I think what you do, Vlad, is create a safe environment for people, like-minded people, to think, it's okay. I might take a little risk. Might open up myself a little bit. Stay within your comfort zone, but just open up a little bit. And with that happens each day on these 12-day tours. you just get a little more open and you experience a little bit more. And so trust is built as a good tour leader, good transportation, everything's very safe, but then we get in these really cool experiences in some of these great environments that it just gets better when you allow that to happen.
Nicely put. And we're there for a safety net just in case.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was a super solid point. I think especially when it comes to things like spiritual or just the unknown, right? Which is where we do throw a lot of our travelers into in different aspects. And yeah, Vlad, you do such an amazing job with having people feel very comfortable and willing to, like Dacre said, like dip their toe in the water. If that's all they're dipping,
Yeah. And it's the same with the novel Dracula. I've had people that, haven't read the book. You don't have to read Dracula to get get the feel out of this place. Yes, I'm going to read you some passages along the way. Yes, we're going to have a little presentation where I give you some really insight into how Bran, what he did for his research and writing. But you don't have to be an expert in Dracula to get something out of this.
It's such a special experience. I remember one of the things people share with us is when they get to read a passage from Dracula, when they're standing behind the castle that is on the cover of the book, and they really transpose themselves in that book. And yes, we do try to create a safe environment for our travelers, in contradiction a little bit with my great ancestor Vlad the Impaler. But
He didn't have such a calming way as you do, Vlad, to foreign visitors.
I think he was also very calm until a certain point. So
exactly,
it's good for our travelers to remember that as well about me, because I do have 1% of Vlad III Dracula in me as well. And my real name is Vlad, just for people to understand who they have to deal with.
Well, I think this is a really good segue into talking about the tour. So we are this year offering 3 different experiences, but I think what we should first talk about is the 12-day tour, because that's the full package. That's the full immersion experience that I think I'm like, if you're going all in, like go all in. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that it's so worth it to spend those full 12 days really immersed in that culture and incredible country. But I'm going to leave this to you, Vlad, and Dacre obviously chime in as well from your experience with us, but share with people who might be interested some of the different places that you guys will be taking, or we will be taking them to.
I can give a short overview, if that's okay with you, Dacre.
Yep.
And once again, every year we come up with a couple of surprises. So we don't want to say everything out loud from here, but we do get to a couple of places that are very dear to us and our travelers. And those have been curated over the years, taking into account the feedback from our travelers, but also while keeping our experience and itinerary real and authentic, while also trying to contribute back to the communities that we're visiting. So, of course, we will start this journey in Bucharest. And as you say, Kayla, people are traveling for far away. There's some jet lag. I do highly encourage the full experience, because that's where we also get to these more off the beaten path locations, which in most cases is what surprises people the most. And I get back to your initial question when you asked me what people think about Romania when they think of visiting. So Bucharest is a city, is more of a modern city affected by communism. You see all these layers around the history of Romania adds up to its mysticism in a way, and this veil of mystery, because we had very troubled medieval times. We finally got to put the country together as Romania, those 3 provinces that Dacre mentioned, Wallachia, Transylvania, and Moldavia. And then guess what? Just 40 years later, communism comes in and stays here for around 50 years. So this is a city affected by communism because we had one of the most infamous dictators here in Romania. And these will be the experiences that we'll have around Bucharest, around communism. And before we move on with the rest of our tour, we will do our Witch's Pond experience, which is one of the places where Vlad the Impaler, my ancestor, was presumed decapitated, in this area, where the local witches are coming to perform certain rituals at certain times of the year, depending on the cycles of the moon and the other calendar events. So in here, we will form a ritual of protection, and we will continue our journey onwards. Another place that we visit and people might not be aware of, as we exit Bucharest, this is where also our short version of the tour starts. It starts with departure from Bucharest towards Transylvania. And the first place would be the Peleș Castle, which is a more modern castle. You can call it even a palace instead of a medieval castle. But then we have Cantacuzino Castle, which is the filming location for Nevermore Academy. And I believe the Netflix aficionados for Wednesday's series will be quite excited to visit that one, because it looks exactly like in the movie sets, and it has an interesting story as well. But the highlight of this tour, especially for people who would like to have a good time, will be the private vampire ball inside Bran Castle, which will be the next day, and that would be one of the main highlights of the tour. We have the castle completely for ourselves. It's a party inside in the interior of Bran Castle, compared to other public events which are being done in the park of the castle, outside of the castle's quarters. And I would like to invite Dacre to maybe share his feedback, because last year we were together there for a big party.
Yeah.
And I would like to hear your thoughts about it.
Well, I'm so glad you mentioned private. This is an incredible castle. My great-granduncle saw images of this in the books he used in his research. There is no question the exterior of this castle is how he described his fictional castle, Dracula. So it's authentic, has a connection to Dracula. But it gets so much publicity, and so many tourists come through there that, yes, when we walk through and see the place as tourists, it's still very cool. But there's nothing better, folks, than when there's just us after closing and we're in the castle. You have it to yourself. The food, the dancing, the music, but it's private. And you get to do these things, not only party with your friends and other people that have come to join us just for the party, but this is the time where you get to wander around the whole castle and experience it and feel it as if it's your own castle, living in this thing for the hours into midnight. So there is nothing like the value added to be part of this incredible Halloween party in Bran Castle. And you also get to see Vlad let down his hair a little bit. I tend to do the same thing. We all dress up. The photo ops are incredible, and it's a cool opportunity to sort of live out your Victorian era dreams, or whatever you want to dress up in. I mean, the costume's incredible. So I look forward to seeing everybody there this time again.
Let me actually go ahead and show a video just to show a glimpse of when we've been there before for this private experience. And also, let me just add how jealous I am that you guys have been able to have the castle to yourselves for that. Because when I went, we were part of the bigger party, because they have like bigger parties at Bran Castle, which was still great. Like, had a great time. But walking through Bran Castle with like hundreds of people, packed in like sardines, and, wandering through this castle, we didn't really get a lot of time in there to really like embrace it and, enjoy being there. And let alone, like, we weren't partying there. So the fact that you guys have this whole castle to yourselves where you're eating and dancing, and like you were saying, just like wandering through there and just like being able to just hang out like in these main corridors and areas. Like, it's absolutely incredible. It's so cool. How fun is
I'm
that?
ready. You have to be there to experience it, guys. I mean, I know the video is still very good, but being there is something different.
There was also something else that got me was our people from our tour were then immersed with 60, 70 more people from around the world, folks. I mean, really talking all over the world would come in for this exclusive party. So it is limited. I can't remember our numbers, Vlad, are about 100 people to this party.
Correct. That's maximum.
Yeah, there's maximum capacity. So it's not, as Kayla said, sardine, but it is a great time to meet people with similar interests. The costume's incredible. The photo ops, they hire an incredible photographer, and you get the photos of a lifetime with great backdrops and so on. So it's something to remember.
Yeah, the ultimate Halloween experience.
Yeah.
Really, like the ultimate Halloween party. Like, can you imagine partying at Dracula's castle? That's so cool.
That's it. Doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, exactly.
It really doesn't. I would add, I've been doing this for many years in Romania, and the party that we are organizing here, or any party that is being organized at this scale in Bran Castle, is very hard to match. Not even in Romania, around Europe. I know Elon Musk a few years ago hired the castle as well for him and his friends. So it's that type of level of experience, guys. But we are doing it our way. And it's not going to be some corporate stuff. It's going to be a very friendly, warm atmosphere where you can let your personality shine. And that's the most important thing in our tour. But after we are concluding our party at Bran Castle, we will have a slow morning, of course, the next day. We'll go to Brasov, which is a very beautiful medieval town as well, where Vlad the Impaler had some romantic affairs, but we will talk about that during our tours. And we will continue to Sighișoara. So we are spending 2 nights in Bucharest, 2 nights in Bran, where Bran Castle is, and 2 nights in Sighișoara. Sighișoara, the medieval citadel that Dacre was just mentioning earlier. It's one of the UNESCO World Heritage Sites because it's one of the last standing in Europe, along with Carcassonne in France, and there's another one in Italy. It's basically a 600 years old town, medieval town that's still inhabited, and you walk the streets, the cobblestone streets, the colorful houses. But there's one thing in there. The house of Vlad Dracula, the father of Vlad the Impaler, owned a property there, and it is said that Vlad the Impaler himself was born in there. That's why a lot of people associate him with Transylvania rather with Wallachia. And we will have exclusive access to the house for an investigation in the evening of Sighișoara. Now, bear in mind, we will also be there for the night of Halloween. Also, all sorts of events and bizarre things are happening in the main square of this citadel. I cannot spoil anything, but it's a lot of fun. It can be scary, but it's totally safe. We have a Gothic cemetery that's very well preserved in the medieval town of Sighișoara as well. There's so many activities and possibilities in Sighișoara that we would let you find out yourselves and suggest as well doing there. Now, as we move from Sighișoara, we go closer to where Bram Stoker placed the locations for Dracula, the book, because we continue towards Cluj or Klausenburg, as Dacre mentioned, is one of the most important cities in Transylvania nowadays, a very modern one. But next to Cluj, apart from the historical importance, lies Hoia Baciu Forest. Yeah. And what I forgot to mention is that with Sighișoara is also where we conclude our short version, compact version of the tour. We leave from Bucharest, we spend 2 nights in Bran and 2 nights in Sighișoara for a total of 5 days and 4 nights. People who are just taking the compact version of the tour will have to make their way back to Bucharest or continue their journey separately, but we will continue towards Cluj and Hoia Baciu Forest, which is a place that is very high on spirituality. It is considered a haunted forest. I don't know if it's a haunted forest, but it's definitely a place with a weird energy, and you need to be there in order to feel it. Dacre, you've been there a couple of times. You were one of the first people, and let's say in the area of exploring the lore of Romania that has been there and documented the area. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. To me, it was interesting. It was a departure from my Dracula studies, but I got to know the two young guys who were very interesting, very serious-minded young guys that were trying to open up the eyes of the world, people who were paranormal investigators, and find some answers to what is going on in Hoia Baciu Forest. I helped them get funding for a map, and these are people that you hire to have with us. So we get some of the experts there. We walk through the forest. There are still unanswered questions. We will never find the answers to these mysterious clearing. There has been sightings of UFOs. There has been disappearance of people. So there's so many questions still to be answered, but that's part of the wonderful sort of mystique of the place is we're in a location. We go there for an evening walk, and we come out when it's pitch black. We have an opportunity to feel, to listen, and I just love, again, putting myself out there. I expand my comfort zone each time I go, environment with the rest of the group, but it gives us an opportunity to just learn a little bit more about what's there and find out from Alex and Marius about what further research has been done, because there's still, it's a really an open book, but it is one of the most well-known haunted forests in all of the world.
I'm just glad every time we go there, we do come back in full pack. We almost lost a few souls, but at the end, everything ended up well. So what's happening after Hoia Baciu? If everybody survives, we continue our journey towards Corvin Castle. We do make a stop in Alba Iulia Citadel. This is more of a Renaissance citadel filled with history, because this one was one of the last places of executions and tortures in Europe. It was late 1700s, early 1800s, quite late in terms of gruesome torture techniques. It's also a spectacular place to visit. It's a star-shaped citadel, and then we dine in a medieval restaurant as well. So it's a good stop on our way to Corvin Castle, where, as I told you, there's so many stories to cover. It's one of my personal favorites. I will guide you together with an archaeologist inside the castle, show you hidden passageways, narrow corridors, stories that you won't find on on a booklet or on a travel guide. And I am very, very excited to have you there, especially after dark, after the gates of the castle are being closed for the public, and we rent the castle for our group to have time to really feel and to explore the castle at our own pace. After Corvin Castle, we are starting to make our way back to Bucharest. We stop in the little town of Sibiu, a major medieval town as well, one of the most beautifully preserved towns in Transylvania, part of the 7 founding towns of Transylvania. And it is actually a place that is connected with Bram Stoker's Dracula in a few ways. I don't know, Dacre, if you want to add more about Sibiu, but it's one of my favorite towns, and maybe yours as well.
It is. I'll add a little tidbit without giving away too much. But this is where a young lady from Scotland who moved to this part of the world with her husband actually did serious amounts of research, which Bram Stoker capitalized on. So if it wasn't for Emily Gerard writing about Transylvanian superstitions in her book,
wow,
Land Beyond the Forest, who lived in Sibiu, she found all about specific Transylvanian superstitions to deal with vampires, how to kill a vampire, how to recognize the vampire. The name Nosferatu came from her who found it. So this is the zone. I mean, literally the zone up in the base of the mountains that this young lady back in 1885 traveled around on foot with her servant and found all these cool superstitions that directed my great-granduncle to place the novel there. So yes, there was a movement of Vlad the Impaler from Wallachia to Transylvania because of what this Emily Gerard did to put it in accurate places where these superstitions used to live. And if you talk to our Vlad Blage, our tour leader, many of them still exist to this day.
Wow.
They do, and I would add that Sibiu, because you just mentioned it's part actually of a triangle some people call it the Bermuda Triangle of Romania, whatever but it is a spiritual triangle. Sibiu is more or less halfway between Corvin Castle and Bran Castle, and to the north to Cluj or Bistrița, the places where, Hoia Baciu is, where Bram Stoker placed Dracula's castle in the mountains, Caliman. So that triangle in Transylvania forms an area that Vlad the Impaler and other infamous rulers of these lands definitely went around, and where the superstitions were and the rituals were at their highest, for sure. So can't wait to have you with us for those experiences. And speaking of which, as we move forward from Sibiu, we end up in Poinar Fortress. Poinar Fortress, which is the real lair of Dracula, the real castle of Vlad the Impaler, whose real name was Dracula, spoiler alert, which means, well, I won't tell you what it means because you'll have to join the tour for that. But it's interesting that how many legends about the wives, how many movie adaptations started from this castle, Poinar Castle or Poinar Fortress, which had a single role, a defensive role against the attacks of the enemies, and it's perched up on a hill. It looks exactly like the ones you've seen in the movies, because most certainly Vlad the Impaler took refuge in times of trouble to this fortress, nested in the valley of Carpathian Mountains. So we do need to climb 1,472 stairs, the same number of years, or the year that Vlad the Impaler died, 1476, I'm sorry. So coincidence? I think not. It does take a strenuous effort. We take it step by step, but we will make it there. We had people struggling, but we put together our group effort and we all reached the summit of Poinar Fortress. And let me tell you that the feeling of getting there and seeing the area behind you and just imagining what was life there and what happened during those attacks 500-600 years ago, it's surreal. It's just surreal. Kayla Dacre, I don't think, Kayla, when you were with us, we could not get there because the fortress was undergoing renovations.
Yeah.
And we got in last year before the crowds because the project was not finished in time. Now it is open for the public, but it's something very special as a group experience as well.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. It does. My thing is, and I've been there many times with different groups, these 1,476 steps are not like Machu Picchu, just rocks. They are proper cement, walkways with pauses, ramps, and so on throughout the forest. You're covered with a nice canopy, so it's nice and cool. So yeah, it takes about 45 minutes to go nice and slow with pause along the way. Some people like to hoof it up there fast, but normally we take it nice and slow. Coming down to me sometimes is more challenging because it's like, oh, we've been up there, we're tired. When you get up there, I don't want to leave. That's why I don't want to come down, because it's so cool. The view up top is absolutely incredible, and there is a connection to the 1992 Coppola film where Vlad the Impaler's wife committed suicide. It's part of the lore. So there's lots of good stories. But as Vlad said, the vibe, the feeling you get from getting up there and the viewscape, and they don't allow you to stay there overnight. Otherwise, I'd probably want to stay there overnight because it's so cool.
Yeah, during Halloween, when the wolves are howling in the forest nearby, when the moon is up in the sky, when there's wind, the wind gusts are pretty hard in the evening, pretty strong.
Yeah.
I don't know. It sounds cool, but it's harsh, and people had to deal with that on an everyday basis.
Yeah.
Put things into perspective. So we'll let you experience that as you climb up, and there we go towards our last day. We make our way back to Bucharest, and we have some downtime. And the last day, we visit Jilava Prison. This was actually a military fort. It is now separated into two different parts: a prison that is still functioning nowadays in Romania, and the old prison / military fortification built in 1800s that ended up being a political jail and prison for opponents of the communist regime. The communists turned it into a gruesome torture chambers location just next to Bucharest for people who were sorted before they would being sent further away in what you might know as gulags. That place is filled with a lot of sad stories and sad events.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's so important to be able to see with your own eyes what has happened in there in order to avoid and to be aware of, the society we're living in, and to make everything we can to avoid scenarios like that. It is also infamous for the killing of the last vampire of Bucharest. We had a sort of a Ted Bundy in Romania. In communism, nobody knew about him because in communism, you don't let out these type of stories to the press or to the public. Well, the press is state-owned, so they decide what gets published or not. And it's something that you'll need to be there to investigate, and it's a very high security entrance. No electronic devices. We can take a camera per group and so on, but it's again a very special experience to get there. And again, without the group, without certain access, they have a very tight access policy. So it's one of the things that we are fortunate enough to be able to do it. The other thing we will do is we will visit Comana. Comana is a village that was actually founded by Vlad the Impaler himself. And in Comana Monastery is another place that the headless body of Vlad the Impaler is said that has been kept and buried in his fights against the Ottoman Empire, nowadays Turkey, during his battles. Now, I'll let you investigate that when we arrive there. But one last thing that we are doing that day is actually the Witch's Pond. I did realize that the Witch's Pond is at the end of the tour, as Kayla, you mentioned.
Yeah.
But at the beginning of the tour, we are doing, close to Bucharest, we are doing cemetery exploration. Now, we have one of the nicest, it's not necessarily a Gothic cemetery like the one in Sighișoara. It's a more modern Belle Art cemetery, similar to Père Lachaise in Paris or Recoleta in Buenos Aires. These are very famous cemeteries, very famous personalities. The same in Romania. It grows in popularity nowadays. What is very important to know is that a lot of rulers of these Romanian principalities, very important noblemen, or politicians of Romania or personalities of Romania are buried there. And their crypts and locations, apart from being creepy, of course, share also very intriguing stories. And we have a surprise activity inside the cemetery. So I'll let that be a surprise as well. Getting back to the last day, we are doing the ritual during the last day of our tour, as Kayla was mentioning, and with that we conclude our experience. Next day is the departure day. I am a little bit speechless because I realize again how many unbelievable experiences we have prepared. If I'm thinking how many tours can do this, that you will need to take maybe 3, 4, 5 different tours in order to incorporate these many experiences and different experiences, special experiences that you are not able to do it regularly. So I believe that what we have prepared every year, and I'm sorry, Kayla, but every year we're getting better at logistics, incorporating the feedback of our travelers, and making sure this year's tour is the best one yet.
Yeah.
So let me know if you have any other thoughts on it, because I'm very excited. That's all I can say. And I'm excited to welcome you as guests in my country and in my territories.
Yeah, well, so just to reiterate, we have 3 different experiences that we are offering this year. So what we just went through was the full 12-day, full immersion experience, which again, I highly recommend if you really want to experience Romania. That is the tour package for you. We also offer the 5-day experience that Vlad mentioned. So it will be leaving from Bucharest and going in and then leaving from Sighisoara, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
We leave from Bucharest, 2 nights in Bran and 2 nights in Sighisoara, and departure day from Sighisoara towards the continuation of the trip.
And that's a good way, you know, if you can't fully commit to a full 12 days, this is a good way for you still to have a good week of vacation that you can take and in a way dip your toes into Romania. So then maybe next time when you come back, you'll be able to check out those other locations that the tour went on. And then you can just do the vampire ball if you want, the Dracula ball at Bran Castle. We have a lot of people who are interested in like DIYing, you know, do it yourself planning for travel. So we do offer tickets to just the Dracula ball. Of course, you have to get yourself there. But that is the third option. But with these 3 experiences, you're going to be able to have a really spectacular Halloween experience in Romania.
Kayla, I do have a question, just logistics again. The first 2 options, the 12-day and the 5-day, those include the vampire ball as well.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's it. Okay. Every experience, you get the vampire ball no matter what.
Right.
Which is great.
And that's something you don't want to miss. Either way, it's awesome. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, before we go, I know we've been talking a lot. We've probably overwhelmed people with so much information, but it's especially you get it when you've been there. When you've been there, you understand it and you just want to keep talking about it and talking about all of the places because it's just absolutely incredible. But before we leave, is there anything that you guys want to leave with people here that they should know or they should remember, something that they should be thinking about if they're interested in, you know, taking a tour with us to Romania in 26?
Well, yeah, I'll just close by saying this. This is, you know, really one of the best organized tours that I've ever been on, and beyond Dracula tours, I've been on other ones as well, involving sports in different parts of Europe. But as Vlad said, you don't get access to places like how these guys have figured out to get access to these certain castles at a certain time of the days, but also into these home visits where you go in and have home cooked meals in certain places. It really is an incredible way to travel that, yep, you could look at this and do it yourself. And I have so many people that contact me and say, oh, I want to go to Bucharest and do this and may drive as far as here. And I said, do yourself a favor, jump on one of these tours, do the 5-day if you can't do the 12-day, but you're going to get access to places that you're never going to get on your own. Why? Because you've got people that have been doing it for a long time. They've got it figured out. They know exactly how long it takes to drive from one place to another and put together a trip where you've got a certain amount of time to rest on the bus, and not too much time on the bus, because it is complicated in a foreign country to figure out this big, massive circle that we're doing and how you see things systematically along the way, rather than drive 6 hours to be at one place for 1 hour and drive 6 hours back. That's a waste of time. But if you do it with us, it is very well thought out over a period of time with the appropriate amount of rest, good rest time, great food in the restaurants, in the hotels as well. So, you know, just sort of, you know, look into it. I highly urge you to look into this and see which of these 3 options suits you the best.
I totally agree, because I see all these itineraries that they take you from Bucharest all the way to Bistrița, you know, just to be on the footpath of Vlad the Impaler. And I get it, it's very nice, but if you have 3 days, I would highly recommend against it, because it's not going to be, you're going to just check a box, you're going to be too tired to fully enjoy the place. And I believe it's essential to follow your intuition, your heart, to let it breathe a little bit and not rush into things. This is why we spaced out very well, very clearly the activities in order to get and to have some more high intensity activities, less more relaxed activities, and we mingle. We got a good mix of them in such a way. And again, after years and years of feedback from travelers and from our own experiences, to make it a best itinerary possible in terms of logistics and arrangements. And I would add about Romanian food, because a lot of people, speaking of preconceptions maybe, or people who have expectations of Romania, they heard that Romanian food is very hearty. It's got a lot of meat. It's strong. It's from Eastern Europe. But we carefully choose our restaurants to involve authentic food, local food, with maybe a little bit of a twist, in order to preserve the spirit of the Romanian cuisine, but also to adapt to the realities of nowadays, to have a nice presentation, and to be good for your stomach, and to take into account your allergies and so on. So don't worry. Unfortunately, you will not be spared the cream of garlic soup. That is mandatory in order to get protection against Romania. And one of the stars of the Romanian cuisine. But I would conclude with just follow your intuition, your heart. If your heart tells you, if you ever have Romania or Transylvania in your mind, even in the back of your mind, if something is linking you to it, it can be an ancestor, someone in your family, a friend, a coworker, a movie, a book, something inspired you to go to Romania. I would say do not hesitate, because we've seen even last year, people wanted to come, and we've sold out the seats. We didn't have space, and they say, oh, I'm coming next year. And then next year something happens, because life happens. And we don't know, the pandemic changed things. Now there's geopolitical situations and so on. I want to clarify, in terms of safety, everything is going as normal in Romania. We're all good, and it's actually being voted number 26, the most safest country in the world, just last year. So we're welcoming you with open arms. We're waiting for you with open arms. But if you have this Romania in your thoughts, don't postpone it. Don't hesitate. We would be very happy to have you with us this year.
Wow. Well, guys, Dacre and Vlad, thank you both so much for being here and sharing your stories, your perspectives and experiences. And I really hope we get a lot of people who go on this tour with you guys to be able to experience this with you, because I think it's just going to be such a special tour for everybody involved this year. So
I'm really excited, because we kept in touch with all our past travelers, and maybe this is also something to mention. We have these groups that we are still in touch with, people who have been to Romania, and we might get together sometimes online, or we say, okay, whenever we're visiting each other, or we meet in another country, and we have these experiences to relate to. So I am beyond excited about this trip, and I can't wait to see you all here.
Same to me. Can't wait to see you guys there.
And I will just say this, like Vlad said, if Romania has ever been on your list, or if you've ever felt drawn to the story of Dracula, there's nothing like experiencing it this way. And honestly, it's never too early to start thinking about Halloween. All right, we're getting into Summerween for those people who are into like Halloween, Summerween. So now is the time to start planning. And what better way to celebrate Halloween than inside Dracula's castle on the 30th with everybody.
Absolutely. Yep.
You know, like it's just, oh, it's so good. And I do want to mention, we do offer payment plans. So this is something that you can start planning now and make happen in a way that feels right specifically to you as well. We do this journey only once a year, like Vlad was saying. So make this be your year, you know? So.
I also offered them to pay in blood at one point, but unfortunately it was unsuccessful. After 100 milliliters, people stopped. They said that they're better to pay directly with their debit card. To each their own.
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it. Maybe we'll work around something for that new kind of currency, you know, whatever works, right?
If there's volunteers, let me know.
Absolutely. Well, we are going to leave you with one last glimpse of basically summing up what we talked about, some of the different locations that we're going to be going to on this tour via a video, so you guys can watch that. And thank you for everyone who's been tuning in with us and hanging out. It's always fun to do that with you guys. Have a wonderful evening, Dacre, Vlad, everybody who's tuned in. And I hope we will see you soon in Romania.
I bid you farewell, and I'll be waiting for you in my country.
What if I told you there's a place where myth and history bleed together, where the air itself feels haunted, and this Halloween you could walk straight into that legend? I'm Dacre Stoker, Bram Stoker's great-grandnephew and guardian of the Dracula legacy, and I'd like to personally invite you to join me on a 12-day journey into the heart of Romania, a land steeped in folklore, filled with haunted landscapes and forever linked to the infamous Count Dracula. This is more than a tour. It's a full immersion into the dark beauty, historical mystery, and supernatural energy of one of the world's most legendary regions. Romania is a place that stirs the soul and chills the spine. We'll descend into the oppressive cells of Lava prison, where shadows whisper of unspeakable horrors. We'll explore the Witch's Pond, long said to be cursed by dark forces. We'll enter the terrifying stillness of Hoia Forest, the most haunted forest in the world, a place where people apparently vanish. Lights appear without explanation, and time seems to bend. We'll climb to Punari Fortress, Vlad the Impaler's true castle, standing like a vulture perched over the Argus River. This journey isn't just about ghost stories. It's about uncovering the real Vlad the Impaler, understanding the folklore that gave birth to a literary icon, and connecting with a country whose roots run deep into the supernatural. You'll experience the elegance of Peleș Castle, the medieval wonder of Brașov, the ghost stories of Alba Iulia, but on the night before Halloween, everything changes, because Bran Castle, the mythical home of Dracula, will be ours alone. No public crowds, just us, the spirits, the castle. You'll be a guest at an exclusive private vampire ball inside these walls. Imagine descending stone staircases in full costume, dining by candlelight, and dancing to a live DJ in Dracula's private courtyard, toasting the midnight hour with ghosts of the past all around you. This isn't just a party. It's an experience you'll never forget. And it only happens with us. If you've ever longed for the Gothic, if your soul stirs for haunted places and untold stories, if Halloween is more than a holiday, it's a calling, then this tour was made for you. This Halloween, awaken the legend inside you.